If you want to be a kingdom person, you do not do justice because they deserve it. You do justice because you're affirming their worth before God. Loving people treat people as they are worth before God and never as they deserve in our sight. Let's say it this way. This is how John keeps going. This is the very next verse. Next slide. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. In other words, you got what you don't deserve, treat others the same. If anyone has material possession, now watch, this is his final application for what it means to be loving. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? In other words, if you see a need and you know it's within your power to meet that need and you do nothing about it, you think God lives in you how? I'd love to hear your theological argument for that. But Shane, I pray, yep. But Shane, yep. And all that encounter with God, you can still turn your back on purpose to needs you can obviously meet. If you see a need you could meet and you purposely turn your back on that need, how can God be in that? I love what John does. He leaves it as a question. He makes us wrestle with it. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and truth. Next one. This is how we know that we belong to the truth and how we set our hearts at rest in his presence. If our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts and he knows everything. Dear friends, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have confidence before God and receive, next one, and receive from him anything we ask. Next one. And receive from anything we ask because we keep his commands. And this is his command, to believe in the name of his son Jesus and to love one another. What was his command? To love one another. To love one another. He says, keep the command. I don't have time to go into all this, but the word keep there is not to obey perfectly. John goes to great detail and length to say no one is going to obey all the commands. The word keep is an ancient medieval word that was a castle word. It was called a castle keep. It's the same word. It's the place of last stand. It's where you put the children in time of attack. It's where you draw the line that says, not past here. See, church people ask me all the time, okay, Shane, so where do we draw the line? If we're supposed to be loving, then where do we draw the line? Here's where you draw the line, being loving. This is the one place that this church can't afford to not draw the line, and that is to keep. We would use the word keep in an athletic term, like a goalkeeper, someone who protects. We're supposed to protect the command to love. Let's say it this way, we should discuss doctrine, but we should defend love with everything we have. Discuss doctrine, defend love. Now, there's one line in here that we need to investigate, because it says, if you have the ability to meet a need and then you purposely don't, how can God be in that? And that line doesn't read well. A good hermeneutic to do is just look at different translations. Let me show it to you, that next one. So the NIV says, if you see a need you could meet and you have no pity on them. That's what the NIV says. The NLT says, show no mercy to them. I see it. I know I could. No. Withhold compassion from them is the ISV. Shut up compassion towards them is the ASV. But my personal favorite is the King James Version. Let me show you this one. Here it goes, next one. Shutteth up thou bowels on them. Isn't it amazing how language has changed? Actually, the most literal translation there is the King James Version. Because in the first century, the center of life was not your heart. It was your bowel. So you would never say, I love you with all my heart, or I felt it in my heart. You would say, oh, I felt that in my, the reason is because babies come out of here, and so they thought that the center of life was the bowel. So in the first century, if you were dating someone, you would never say, oh, sweetie, I love you with all my heart. She would leave you. Like she'd be like, you creepy thing, like a beating, that's creepy, that's weird, right? You would never say that. What you would say, if you really loved someone in the first century and you were dating them, you would go, sweetie, I just want you to know, I love you with all my bowel. Well, if you did that, she'd be like, oh, you move my bowels too. The center of life in the first century was the bowel. Let me show it to you in the original language. This is the original language. Next slide. The original language is klease ta splachna. That's what it says in Greek. Klease, close, ta, the, splachna. Bow. Essentially, John says, if you want to enter into life, don't close your splachna. Don't live constipated. It's a joke. It's a, hey, if you want to really live life, you don't want to live life with a closed off bowel. We would say don't close your heart. Don't close your inner life source. They would say, they would say in the first century, don't close. So when the KJV got a hold of it, they translated it word for word, shutteth up thou bowels. That's exactly what it says. The NIV got a hold of it and went, that doesn't mean that anymore, right? But the literal language was, don't close your splachna. Maybe we could say it the other way. If you really want to live life, say it this way. John's key to entering life is to open your splachna. To live life with a wide open bowel. What did that mean in the first century? It means every time you see a need and you know you can meet the need, don't worry about things you could do nothing about. But if you see a need and you know you can meet the need, open your splachna all over it. And John says if you live life like that, that's what it means to be a loving group of people. Don't super theologize love. Love is simply this. Love is a group of people that treat people as they are worth and not as they deserve. And they do that by when they see a need and they know they can meet the need, they open their splachnas.